before Christmas, we sent an invitation to the Bob Brown Foundation to get Bob up here to speak, but we got a reply back. It was very polite, saying that Bob was previously engaged, and unfortunately couldn't make it. However, we've got Dr. Mervyn forward, who is Australia's leading climate scientist, to give us a bit of an understanding of how this whole thing goes together. Thank you.
All I had was like an energy pack.
Good on you. Right. G'day, ladies and gents, girls and boys, and those who aren't sure. Now listen up and write down notes, because today we take no prisoners. Straight talk to straight people off the land. Off the land. And apparently that's where a certain few with a lot of money want you to be, off the land. But you're the salt of the earth, which puts you in the rare minerals category. So don't worry, you'll be quite valuable as far as batteries are concerned. Just got to find some third world kids to mine ya. But we're going so third world ourselves, we'll bring in locals. So what's happened in Australia? That's what we want to know. Well, why are we letting real farms getting turned into fake farms? Why don't we give a damn about water? And we've got more thorium in that boundless earth out there than you can poke a stick at. But with foreign forests control, killing off kilometres of koalas, like all get up, pretty soon the only forest we'll have will be a little twig left out west. Now behind me is Australia's most famous underground bunker. Bowen, I said Bowen, under the weight of this country's brains trust. Sadly, though, no, doubtlessly, dutifully, people in there are working for us. People like Chris and Penny and Zali, Adam, Sarah, and an abundance of hyphens. But sadly, I get the feeling they're just a bunch of old molecule haters. Because CO2 is just an old molecule. Been around a lot longer than any of us. So I went in there with one question, and I'm going to read it to you. What actual scientific evidence do any of you blokes have proving that the 1/4,000,000th of a % of CO2 that we as human beings contribute to the 1 gazillionth of CO2 that happens to be part of the Earth's atmosphere does anything good or bloody bad? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is when those politicians and those bureaucrats prove to me the science. They proved it, that light travels faster than sound. Yep, they can look pretty bloody bright until you hear one speak. It was at that point that I, pronouns right on, forward BS PhD climate scientist, made it my business to know how CO2 has become the cash cow to replace your cows. So at sunrise, I hitched a ride on a large jet with a short little Irish countryman heading out of Australia, who happened to be a mate of Albert Noisy. I call him Noisy. I could listen to his dulcet tones all bloody day. Well, you see, I got Irish to drop me off in Beijing. They get things done here, I thought. Because, let's face it, I know there's a small matter of relocating locals who don't agree with government policies. But, come on, they built a city in the time it took us to work out how many words in a referendum. How the hell do you do it, She? I asked. I called him She Whiz, but not to his face. She, I said, how do you do it? Just give order, no contract, read fine print later. I said, whoa, gee whiz, I can see your style on back here. But I don't see any giant wind turbines, G. No wind, no need. We build more coal power plants, he said, than you've had hot Chinese takeaways. Much cheaper power. Thank you, Australia. No wuckers. See you on the way back, I said. Still sacrificing myself on behalf of you, potential constituents. I flew off to Davos. Well, now I can understand why they need those private jets. All those suitcases full of cash would cost a bloody fortune in excess baggage. There was yen and Deutschmarks and dollars and pounds. Crikey, Moses. It would take a truckload of juice to get those things off the ground. Well, the first night in Davos, I hit the local bar to see if I could find out what the delegates were discussing around the dilemma of CO2. Now, a youngish bloke was getting up on the dance floor, doing a bit of Cuban dancing. He waited till I sat down, he came over and introduced himself. Justin Trudeau, he said. In a funny sort of an accent, Justin Trudeau, would you like some Coke? I said, no, thanks, mate, I'm a Scotch drinker. And that stuff's full of sugar and CO2. Which brings me to the point, why isn't Coca-Cola banned? It's full of it, and so is every other soda drink. Justin, I said, look, the real evidence plainly shows, mate, the planet is probably cooling because the sun cycle affects the Earth. We know what's going into like a hibernation. The solar system's 3 major planets are converging to exert gravitational forces upon the Earth, which means we've got an elliptical orbit, not a circular one. And finally, we've had submarine volcanoes, like in Tonga, that do more to change climate on this planet than any other bloody thing ever. And no money can affect or change any of that.
Hey mate, what do cows fart? What gas? Do cows fart carbon dioxide? No, they do not. They fart methane gas.
That's amazing. I started to be a ventriloquist, but I've never worked so far from a dummy. Anyway, as I was about to say, what is needed, what is bloody needed, is smarter use, efficient use of power generation, I said, and let the farmers look after the farmland, not desk jockeys with delusions of grandeur. You're probably right, he said. You're probably right. We agreed, though, to base our policies on computer models. They use binary code, ones and zeros. You should know, you're in politics. If you're not number one, you're zero. And like you said, he said, no money can change the climate. Only a fool believes that. But climate can change your money. Ooh, so what is net zero? Just pick a number for your net profit, rack up a load of zeros after it, and add it up. Comprenez-vous? Oui, bloody oui. Well, this CO2 started sounding like COD. He invited me to join him and Bill and Klaus and George for lunch the next day. And in the morning, I worked out the best way to help us in Australia and what name would be needed to start this political powerhouse that I'm introducing. And I came up with Net and Zero International Party to reflect the global agenda that I was starting to understand. Net and Zero International. N-A-Z-I. I ran it past Klaus at lunch. He cracked a smile. I think he might have approved. But when I ran it past Albanoisy, he went all pale. I think, in all fairness, could be because there was a lot of mispronunciation of his name, and I guess it would upset you being referred to Australia's Prime Minister, Mr. Albanese. But we were in Switzerland, after all, come on. So I ditched the idea based on my recent education and courtesy of the WEF, which I was quietly told on the side stands for We're Extremely Funded, and opted to call the movement the New Greens, meaning the New Greens in a brown envelope go a long way to deciding policy. Well, when I stopped off in China, on the way back, I was gobsmacked. Gee, I said, it's like an old school reunion out there. I can see more former Australian politicians than you can poke a stick at. Queenslanders, Victorians, West Aussie, Tassie, you name it. Because when it comes to turbine trade, I gotcha, the turbine trade, it's an ill wind that blows no good. But a gold wind, that's about the best paying blowjob around. So once my New Greens party gets me in there, I want just one portfolio. Department of Lobbyists, Legislation and Relative Security, DOLLARS. To be moving forward, you gotta grease the wheels. You lobby, we legislate, and the profits go to my relatives to make them feel secure. And that brings me to the grand venture right behind me. Listening to young Canavan earlier? Now is the perfect opportunity to convert Australia's centre of power into a true power centre. We're going to raise that flagpole, strengthen it to about 300 metres. It's going to be called a totalitarian height to represent the totalitarian turbine distributing the totalitarian power. The energy source comes from the two chambers below, constantly amplified by the media, which I must suggest is the best that money can buy. And speaking of money, I budgeted the 21st century national infrastructure budget into a couple of billions as well. If we can get it up as fast as Florence the Snowy 2.0, the boring machine went down, we'll have it looking forward to pumping enough gas out of that to fuel my EV by 2040. And the safe and reliable design using 3 large fins has been approved because the Embassy of Finland is just round the corner. And a lunch over there at Marnica with a bit of lager, I'm sure we can get 3 of those blokes to join us on our quest. It's all as easy as ABC, which is, as you all know, stands for Approved Beijing, China. The next election, look out for moving forward. Rest assured you'll hear politicians everywhere reciting my name every time a reporter asks a question they won't or don't want to answer. We're moving forward, they'll say, and so will you. On ya, I'll hand it over to whoever's coming after me. Vote 1, moving forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Russell Broadbent. I'm the member for Monash. The electorate was named after Sir John.
Muted it again. I'll work it out one day. Anyway, folks, welcome to Amos Sewn 94, held on the 6th of the 2nd, 2024. I'm afraid I've left myself muted, so you didn't hear a fucking thing that I said before. Well, today down in Canberra, there was a bit of a thing. The farmers went down there and had a few words to say. So I've got some videos to show you that I recorded off YouTube because they can do it better than I can. So therefore, somewhere in my vast bizzo, I got video 1. And if that works, you may be able to see it.
The Labor Party all day. Look at us, we're so different. They're exactly the same about issues of significance.
This is like the first video of several guys.
I'll give you some examples. The Voice. It doesn't matter what you think about The Voice, it doesn't matter. They both supported The Voice. The Liberal Party said legislate The Voice. The Labor Party said put it in the Constitution. The same. Net zero. They both support net zero. One says use solar panels and batteries and wind turbines. One says go nuclear. They both support net zero. The UAP does not support net zero in any way, shape or form because carbon is not a poison. Carbon is not a poison. It is not. It is the building blocks of life. That's what it is. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go a bit further. You're a carbon-based life form. What happens down the line in 20, 30 years? What happens then? Think about that for a second. I won't go into it. Think about that. Obviously, we must repeal the ban on nuclear power. We all know that. We all know that. One more example I just thought of now about Labor and Liberal being the same. The Disinformation Bill. That was a Liberal Party idea originally, and the former Communications Minister Paul Fletcher Now the Liberal Party's adopting it. If you haven't heard of it, go look it up. It's basically a bill designed to gag you and make sure you can't speak. That's what it's about. The other one is digital ID. If you don't know what that is, go look it up. Digital ID is supported by both the Labor Party and the Liberals as well. What do we need now? What do we need? We need more of you to stand up, but not just you here. Everyone at home that's watching me speak tonight. You've got to get involved in the political process. You've got to join a party. You have to be involved. Otherwise, the people in that building there are going to continue to railroad you. I'm telling you the truth because I don't give a shit. I'll tell you why. Because I'm not a career politician. I don't care if I don't get re-elected next time. I don't care. What I care about is doing the right thing. That's what I care about. Sticking by my convictions. I am not for sale. I will not sell out to the highest bidder. I will not meet with the globalists and all the lobbyists in that building that twist people's arms. I won't do it. You think this place is righteous? This place is filthy, disgusting. It is rotten to the core. But you can fix it. You can fix it. You can make a difference. Be involved. Run for office next time. Support the right candidate. And for God's sake, stop voting for the Labor and the Liberal Party. They are no different. Two things are the same thing. Thank you. Thank you.
Alan from Victoria.
You may have noticed, folks, you may have noticed that a lot of the audio doesn't suit the video. It's because I was chopping between, when I recorded this earlier today. I'm still unmuted. Fantastic. Yes. I recorded this earlier today, but I had to chop between two different streams to get the audio. It was the, who was it? It was the, yes, the Exposure 28 site and the Nun 2K guys, whoever they are. I think that's, I'll get back to you who that is, but they're Australian. It's an Australian bloke, and he's, yeah, anyway. So he let's just get back to the video, I guess, eh? Because that's why the videos don't actually sync with the thing. That's why I flick between each video. So that's what I was trying to say. So here it goes.
How great was that to hear from one of the true honest senators in this parliament behind us?
Got a bit of a bloke in the background.
I feel like a deja vu. 12 years ago, I stood in this very spot and argued that the reckless renewable policies of the Labor Party at the time were going to drive the price of electricity up in this country. Back then we enjoyed some of the lowest electricity prices in the world. But this summer, we have many pensioners and many Australians that couldn't afford to turn the air conditioning on. And this coming winter, there'll be many Australians who will have to make a decision. Will they heat or will they eat? That is what this reckless renewable drive has done. And it shouldn't. The great natural advantages of our country are that magnificent black coal seam that runs down our eastern seaboard. That is our inheritance that has created wealth and prosperity in this country for decades. And yet we are turning our back on it. The Australian National Grid has around 21 gigawatts of electricity coal-fired generation capacity. China has 1,100 gigawatts, 50 times more than we have. 50 times more. And what is China doing? Currently, they have under construction 132 gigawatts of electricity power under construction today. That is 6 times what we have in total in Australia. And we have men like Blackout Bowen that want to close down remaining 21 gigawatts we have, while China is building 6 times more. And that is only what they have under construction. In addition, China have 255 gigawatts in pre-construction, more than 12 times what our total grid is. And we are told coal is unviable, it doesn't work, and yet the Chinese want to buy our coal from Australia, ship it to China, and use it in coal-fired power stations in China. This is a betrayal of our nation. This is all under the madness of net zero. And it's not just the Labor Party that we should blame. Yes, we know Mr. Blackout Bowen, a man whose ignorance is only surpassed by his arrogance. It is also the Liberal Party and the National Party. Now later today, we'll have speakers from the Liberal Party standing on this stage. And those speakers from the National Party standing on this stage. My former colleagues, good men and women. But the truth is, they have signed this nation up to net zero. So unless they are prepared to say we got it wrong and reverse that policy decision, they really, I'm sorry to say, they do not deserve a place on this stage. They've got to grow a spine, grow a backbone, put Australia first, and so we must get rid of net zero. Because if we continue with this nonsense, with this net zero nonsense, even if we stop the wind farms at Port Stephens, or stop them down off the Wollongong coast, the Illawarra coast, all that will happen is they will move elsewhere. The only way to truly stop them is we have to reject net zero. Net zero is a sellout to the globalists, is a wealth transfer from the Australian nation to the Communist Party of China. It has the Communist Party of China an economic, political and military advantage over this country. And we better tell the fools behind us that work in that building and the fools that advise them, they are selling out our nation. And we call on every politician that comes and stands on this stage today must say, I am going to make a stand and I'm going to vote with my conscience and I'm going to say no to net zero. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Look at us. We are not your average activists. Amazing to see you all here. My name's Gemma Pride. I'm from the Central West. I'm representing a group of farmers from Mudgee. Beautiful part of top tourism town, 2 years in a row, but not for much longer if these fools get a hold of this renewable energy thing and run with it. We have to stop them today. We have to call on this government for an urgent Senate inquiry now. Stop these projects. Chris Bowen, where are you? Get out of your ivory tower. Get over here. We've got a lot to say today, so we need you to hear us. We need you to take your earmuffs off. We've got a lot to say. We need you to see us. So we want you to take your rose-coloured renewable energy glasses off, so you can see what's going to really happen. Chris Bowen actually doesn't want you to see what 2050 looks like. He's so caught up in 2030, he's not being honest with the Australian people. He's not going to tell you what's going to happen 15 years down.
Here we go. This is unfortunate. This is what I wanted to sound. These guys haven't got any sound still. Come on. Come back to me, sound. I wish I could hear it. Yeah, folks, this is just one of the delays in the recording sort of thing. I'll see if I can sort it that bit.
Chris Bowen, we need to tell you what the farm is because apparently you're confused. Farms do not have eye-watering numbers of solar panels. Farms do not have eye-watering numbers of batteries. And we don't have our hills with rows and rows of wind turbines. Farms are for growing food. Stop calling these farms factories. They are factories and you are industrialising our rural areas. So we can see a horizon full of wind turbines. We can see paddocks going on forever and ever with solar panels. But Chris Bowen, we can't see you, so get over here now.
We need someone like Donald Trump to save us. Watch what he does in America. Hello. My name's Barnaby Joyce. First of all, this is not about me, this is about you. How many people got here from the Illawarra? Put your hands up. Good on you. How about Port Stephens? They're loud and proud and organised. How about people from the New England? We've got a few of them. How about people from outside New South Wales? Just put up your hand from outside New South Wales. This is a big issue. I want to say, first of all, thank you to you. Thank you to you. Because you're coming out and you're going to change our nation. Everything you do, it's a sign of a catalyst. Take these messages back. Change your local electorate. Change your state. And we're going to change what happens in this building. Let's start on one thing. These are not wind farms or solar farms. Farms grow carrots, peas, they grow meat. These are not farms, they are factories, they are industrial dumps. Environmental dumps. And what we have to clearly understand is that what we are doing to our nation is the things that took eons to create, such as your seascapes, farms that took hundreds of years to build, hundreds of years to clear, they're going to be destroyed in a matter of a year. They're going to be destroyed. What for? How could that possibly be an environmental benefit? How could it be an environmental benefit to kill wedge-tails, hawks, kites, to kill wildlife? How does that become an environmental benefit? But on top of that, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's a swindle. Deal, Minister Bowen. What a stroke of genius. Absolute stroke of genius. Now, what we're going to see is we know that these things are static. They're just static capital. They don't develop. The wind towers they put up even 5-6 years ago, they're out of date. So as we've got static capital in a dynamic environment, and we'll probably go, I hope we go to nuclear, we'll probably head off in that direction. What's going to happen to these wind towers? This filth that's all over our countryside, that's all off our beaches. What's going to happen to them? Guess who's responsible for pulling them down? The farmers. The farmers. Do you know what the cost is of those things to pull down? In Minnesota, they've had studies up to $800,000 Australian to pull one down. Do you think anybody's got that money? Of course not. So what's going to happen to the value of their land? It'll be like negative equity. You won't be able to borrow money, you'll destroy the countryside, and you'll be littered. And we see that overseas. They're rusting, they catch on fire, they're filth. They're filth. But we hear this, don't we? We hear this all the time. The purity of this wondrous territory we're in, the ACT, they tell us that they're 100% renewable. 100% renewable. So let's just have a little bit of a look around. Where are the wind factories here? Where are the wind towers? Where are they? There's none up there. There's none over there. You can't see them. Why, if they believe in it so much, don't they have some wind towers on the hills around here? Why not? Because they think they're ugly. They think they destroy the place. So they've come up with a great idea. Rather than put the wind towers in the ACT, they're going to put them in your backyard. They're going to put them in your backyard. Well, they're all overseas. They're all totally imported and overwhelmingly foreign owned. Totally imported and overwhelmingly foreign owned. So, what we are seeing, the result of all this, is they say that power prices will go down. Well, I'm not surprised you. Power prices have gone through the roof. The power price has gone through the roof. The reliability has gone through the floor, and you're my job after the next election unless they change their mind. You might go back and say to the member for Gilmore, say to the member for Dobell, say to the member for Whitlam, say to the member for Eden Monero, say to the member for Patterson, say to the member for Hunter, I came down to Canberra to see you. Where were you? Why didn't you come out? Why didn't you come and talk to us? So the issue here is the only thing that really puts fear in people is if, of course, you lose a job. That puts fear in people. And what you've got to do is create that, not in a rude way, not in a threatening way, but in a political way, say, I don't think you've got a job after the next election unless you change the way you're treating us. Because the way they're treating you like rubbish. They're treating you like the rubbish that they're going to put all over your head. So thank you very much. I've put more power into your arms. Keep going. Keep up the fight. All the best and God bless.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming out. I'm Matthew Canavan, all the way from Queensland, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you. I'm going to start off like Barnaby with a bit of a survey. Hands up if we've got some ABC listeners in the house today. Anyone? Some of you? Okay, there's a couple down the back, that's good. Well, so most of you might not have heard their report yesterday morning on the radio, and they titled a news article associated with it, and I'm quoting here, majority of farmers support renewable infrastructure on land. Majority of farmers support. What do you reckon? Do you reckon that's true? You reckon that's fake news or the ABC? They relied on a survey done. I don't think they disclosed this on air, but they relied on a survey done by Farmers for Climate Action. Okay, that's one survey. They did not mention, maybe they haven't read, the government report that came out last Friday. A government report, this government's report, a report to Chris Bowen, the Energy Minister, which said that 90% of farmers are unhappy with how renewable energy developments are occurring on their land. 90%. 9 in 10. I mean, I'm up from Queensland, so I'm down from Queensland. So up in central Queensland, I reckon there are more people in central Queensland now that support the New South Wales Blues rugby league team than support renewable energy. It is that unpopular. People hate it, they don't want it. And we need to tell people why they don't like it. Why they don't like it. Because people in the cities, all they see are these fanciful TV ads from a distance with beautiful elevator music playing in the background. They don't realise the reality. And we're lucky to be right here. It's a beautiful part of our country, right here, in the nation's capital. And we can show people the reality. Because behind us there is that pole up there with the flag on top of it, our beautiful Parliament House. It's a lovely building. That pole, that's 100 metres high. It's 100 metres tall up there. The wind turbines that are going up near my friend's place, Glen Kelly, in central Queensland, they're going to be 300 metres high. So put that pole and times it 3 times on top. That's the size of the wind turbine going just a few kilometres from Glen's property and many others in the region. How close are these wind turbines from a house? Just beyond Old Parliament House there, someone's house. Just beyond Old Parliament House, if you look behind you, that's where someone's house is, that it's going to be overshadowed by a massive monstrosity of 300 metres. Now, what do you reckon? Do you reckon we should maybe put one wind turbine on Capitol Hill? Maybe we should turn it into a wind turbine and see what people think. There won't be a house for 1.5 kilometres around here, so that's great. That's great, they can have one here. We're going to have 60 of them in this just one project. 60 of them that size. They're going to cover an area of 10,000 hectares. 10,000 hectares. You can't see 10,000 hectares. You'd have to, I had a look at it this morning, you'd have to draw a map, draw a line from the airport out there, all the way to Mount Ainslie behind you, out to Mount Majura, over to Belconnen, back around to Red Hill and over to the airport. That's 10,900 hectares. Blanketed with 300 metre high monstrosities in a beautiful natural area. Koala habitat, sugar glider habitat is just an absolute disgrace. An absolute disgrace. The coal-fired power station there, the coal-fired power station, Stanwell coal-fired power station, it produces 10 times the power of this wind project on a tenth of the land. On a tenth of the land. If you were going to build nuclear, that would just be a third of the size of the coal-fired power station. And these people who are backing these projects say they're environmentalists. They have the temerity to say they want to protect the environment. And they are destroying it. They are destroying it. The only thing green about renewable energy is money. That's what this is about. It is all about a lot of people making a lot of money. And they'll wrap it up with trying to save the planet, trying to convince themselves that they can still sleep at night while they use blunt force to kill another koala on their projects. It is all about that. And we've got to fight back against this. We've got to fight back against it. Now, I'm glad because it's an excellent turnout. There's a huge turnout of people who have got jobs, who have come a long way. This is showing the difference. There's another 10 or 20 of you who can't make it here. It's a massive movement that is building. It is building. But we're not going to make change today. It's not going to happen after today. So don't become despondent if, this week, the Parliament doesn't vote to stop these things. That's not how it works. We have to keep on fighting. We keep on fighting. It's frustrating. It shouldn't happen like this, but we have to do it for our country and for our children. You've come here today probably expecting people here will listen to you. Unfortunately, that's not how our democracy works right now. Now, Canberra operates, this Parliament operates to lecture you, not to listen to you. You'll get a lecture this week from the politicians. They'll lecture you about how renewable energy is so good for you. You just don't understand how great it is to have a 300-metre turbine overshadowing your house. That's what they'll say to you. So you've got to make these people listen. You have to keep up the pressure. This week I'll be putting in a bill to the Parliament to put the same obligations on renewable energy as applies to our farmers and our miners. Why do they have different rules? Why do they have different rules? If you cut down a tree now, as a farmer, you could go to jail. These guys can basically blanket, can just remove whole forests. No questions asked. So my law will change that. We've got to support that. We've got to do more. We've got to keep coming back. We've got to keep calling politicians, keep the pressure up, and most of all, build this army. Build it and talk to others. When elections come up, soon, very soon, the politicians will have to listen. If they don't listen, they won't be there anymore to lecture you, and that's what we need. Thank you very much, and God bless. Keep up the fight.
Okay, thanks very much. To all of you that have come today, many of you from the Hunter and the Wild Coast, no now David Gillespie, the member for Lyme. My beautiful part of the country goes from Hawke's Nest up to Port Macquarie. We go across the Hunter River down to near Muscatine. I am slowly being ring-fenced and then attacked at sea by wind farms. Like
Just a reminder, folks, obviously the video and the audio don't match. So I just thought I'd figure on that a little bit. Okay, let's carry on, shall we?
people in Queensland, all over the place, they are popping up all over the place. But I know everyone thinks their place is special, but our place where they're putting a wind farm off Port Stephens, Newcastle and the Wild Coast is the absolute best example of what Canberra was just saying. These people that are proposing to do it are getting a leave pass. The Port Stephens wind farm will ruin the economy of Port Stephens. We've just been joined by April and the girls from the Warramai, who are the traditional custodians of the land and waterway, and they are dead set against it too, because they know how ridiculous it is. We've got a federal marine park, we have got a state marine park, we have got Ramsar protected islands and birds and animals, that's their playground. It's also the playground of people from and it's one of the biggest East Coast tourism meccas. There is $1 billion industry in Port Stephens in the blue water economy, whale watching, dolphins, fishing, marlin, as well as commercial fishing. Unproposed will have up to 5.2 gigawatts of energy. That's about 267 metre towers. It means all the commercial traffic into the port of Newcastle that comes from the north will be excluded from that. The fishing grounds that feed New South Wales fresh fish, a third of it is compromised by where this wind farm is. So it fails on the economic front. As far as electricity goes, it is a batshit crazy idea to think you can replace 24/7 electricity with something that depends on the wind. Like, is Tomago Sport only going to work on windy days? Is Newcastle going to operate only on windy days? Like, it's all this false mantra that renewables are capable of taking over the baseload of anyone's system. No one in the world is proposing to do what Chris Bowen and the other people advocating for 80% renewables. The grid will be very unstable and more renewables won't fix it. It's just going to ruin the environment while they think they're saving the land. Now, and what you are doing today is showing that it's not just one group here, one group there, it's Australia-wide. So for those of you that have come from everywhere else, whether you're up at Walker, whether you're out near Mudgee, down in Victoria, there are plans everywhere. In Queensland, there are 110 renewable projects that are very advanced. We have former Greens advocates who are now totally against it because they've seen the destruction of koala habitat, of remnant forests and vegetation. All the developers get a leave pass, and amongst all these people, they are carpetbaggers. They are not farming the wind for electricity. They make their money out of the renewable energy certificates. They get a subsidy now because they're desperate. They are going to have zero risk in building it by the equivalent of contracts to difference. So if they get enough from the electricity or the amount they need for the investment, it'll be underwritten by the federal government. So all those bills are going on your tax bill and your electricity bill. The other cost is the industry that runs off cheap electricity. All this is incredibly expensive, and there is no rational reason to think that we are different from any other country that has tried to do this. Germany and Europe failed. They had wind droughts for 3 months. The UK was on its knees. Germany, the industrial capital of Europe, has now got all the coal-fired power stations firing up, and they just announced they're going to do a whole heap of gas-fired power stations because they've worked out that wind and solar together won't run an industrial economy. So keep up the action. As Matt said, it's not this one rally. This is just part of the journey. We've got to keep the pressure on the government to make sure our environment isn't destroyed, but your environment, your job, your farm, your fishing industry, and also people that aren't in those frontline energy intensive industries. Cloud computing, all the office jobs, electricity, and put it all at the whim of the weather. It is a crazy idea, and it's an incredibly expensive idea. The more the percentage of renewables grows, the more expensive it will become. Because for every megawatt of renewables, you need a megawatt of either gas or coal or pumped hydro. So, keep up the anger. Chris Bowen needs to get a message. You being here will help do that. You're giving us strength as your members of parliament to speak out loud against bad ideas. For all those people, my people in the Hunter and the Wild Coast, we are fighting the fight. We want you to grow food. We don't want hundreds of thousands of acres of solar farms taking up good ag land. We don't want rangelands destroyed. We want our place to stay beautiful like it is. And we want cheap food. We want Australia to make stuff again. That comes with cheap energy. Bring back cheap energy. Bring back manufacturing. The exact opposite will happen with these wind farms. And the billions and trillions that you will be paying up to 2030, the clever uni people at Melbourne Uni, at Queensland Uni and Princeton, that big one over there in America, they did an analysis called a Net Zero Australia study. And they worked out just by 2030, they're going to have to spend $1.5 trillion on all this madness. And it's our money, and it's driving jobs and manufacturing and our sovereignty overseas. All these wind towers, the majority of the stuff comes from China. Same for solar panels. So we are making ourselves even more and more dependent on China. So all around, it's bad, it's crazy, and we are sure as hell saying no. So keep up the rage, keep up the pressure, explain things to your friends. But look, 500,000 acres in Queensland alone is going to be consumed. With the 3 renewable energy zones on land, it'll probably be much the same, maybe a little bit less in New South Wales. Same goes for Victoria. The Clever University guys worked out that it's the equivalent of the state of Victoria, or 5 Tasmania, because of this madness. And we've got to stop it all. We just want sensible stuff, and you know, I am a proponent of nuclear. It's cleaner than wind and solar, and it works around the clock. So that's what we've got to be fighting for, a sensible solution.
match with Chris.
New Yorker.
Chris Bowen. He doesn't agree with you.
How are you? Nice to
So
meet you.
I'm here to say no.
Yeah.
I'm here to say no because you are I've fought this nonsense for 10 years. They wanted to cover your land with a tarpaulin of solar panels. They want forests of the coast of Sydney. Mill's proposition is 5,000 megawatts. That is 1,000 turbines, 1,000 towers in the ocean. It is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. So let's have a look at what's going on around here. It's pretty straightforward. It is pretty straightforward. Is it going right? Give me a no. Is it a reckless proposal? Yes. Are we saying no to Chris Bowen's much more expensive proposition? Yes. Chris Bowen resign. Yes. Every single person that's here that's given up their day, that's given up their work, that's shown up, there are thousands and thousands of you that agree with what you're doing. So thank you for turning out. Thank you for being here this morning. We will find what is right. Who thinks this is the truth?
Lucky guys, great to meet you. No, well, you.
Who thinks it's
All right. See you guys.
Who thinks it's reckless? So what we're saying today, Chris Bowen, you are wrong. You are wrong politically. You are wrong for the environment. You are wrong for our country. You are wrong for Australia. You are wrong for its people, and you should go. Thank you so much. Good morning. God bless. Safe travel.
So good morning. I'm Michelle Andrew. I'm the member for Capricorn in Central Queensland. And today I want to talk about the pumped hydro that they're doing in my area. A beautiful little rainforest called Yungala that they want to actually destroy. They want to put these dirty dams over 2,000 lengths of a football field. They want to kill platypus. They want to kill koalas. And then they don't have enough energy up there, so then they're putting these horrible wind towers in and solar panels. But then it can't plug into the Queensland grid. So then they've got to put power lines from central Queensland down to Canberra. And they lose 20% of transmission. This is out of control. This is a $12 billion project that people in our area are fighting against. They're flooding people's homes. They're destroying people's livelihoods. We have had enough. And a good shout out to people from Yungala that are here today. They're here to save the wildlife for our children. It's disgraceful. Outside of Rockhampton, they're building kilometre after kilometre of these dreadful wind towers. They're knocking vegetation to and guess what? We're near the Great Barrier Reef. They don't have any concerns about what's floating down the rivers to go into the Great Barrier Reef. I went and saw some of the green organisations in the environment, and I said to them, what would you think about having these wind towers all up the east coast of Australia? And they go, well, it's better than a coal mine. It's absolute crap. I went to see Tanya Plenasek, and I said to her, the whole country's going to be covered in wind towers. And she says, I actually don't have a problem with that. These people are in inner city seats. They have no idea. They are destroying this nation, and the people are rebelling. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Yes, my name's Stephen Olakowski, and I'm here representing Rainforest Reserves Australia and the Jitterbell people, the Aboriginal people of North Queensland, who've been walked over. I'm also here representing those people that understand climate change is real, but 100% renewables is not the solution. So I was a true believer. I thought that renewables were going to save us. Yes. So I thought renewables were going to save us. So I got behind the Mount Emerald wind farm, the first industrial wind farm in North Queensland, and I documented it. And I thought that was a price to pay, was to sacrifice northern coal habitat, 5 critically endangered plant species, but that was a price we needed to pay to decarbonise. And I documented the construction, and it was, so let me talk. So I documented the construction, and now that the wind factories are built, I'm looking at the wind data, and the wind data is atrocious. It doesn't live up to what the proponents said. We all thought that this wind factory would deliver power to power 70,000 homes. It doesn't power 70,000 homes. For 1 hour in the year 2022, it powers 70,000 homes. For 63 days of 2022, it delivered 0 electricity. For half of the year, it delivered less than 10 megawatts. It's a complete scam. So, since that project, I'm now looking at what's happening across Queensland, and we now have 110 projects like Mount Emerald proposed for the Queensland Great Dividing Range. These are projects that are going straight through to Keeper. They're going through local councils, code accessible, not impact. There's no capacity for appeal. They're going through state code 23 at state level, so they go straight through. They're exempt from the Nature Conservation Act. They're exempt from the Vegetation Management Act, the Nature Conservation Act, and all the reef regulations. So we're seeing these industries going into places that are pristine, high elevation forested areas with no mechanisms in place to stop the destruction. We've now got 60,000 hectares in Queensland to be cleared of remnant forest. Yes. Yeah, so I was a supporter of Australian Conservation Foundation for many years, and I noticed that they were behind the pro-wind rally on the coast the other day, and there was lots of reports in the media talking about jobs and growth and so forth, but there was nothing there about the environment, nothing about, nothing about the environment. This is typical now of the mainstream conservation groups. The conservation groups do not stand up for nature anymore. Now, the Australian Conservation Foundation, all the Friends of the Earth, not one of those representatives or those campaigners or coordinators have ever stepped foot on one proposed project in Queensland. Not one. So these organisations are flying around the world, they're flying around the world to these roundtable meetings about climate, yet they don't ground truth where these projects are going. They've got no idea of what the impact is. I was opposed to nuclear. So I had to put my ideology aside and I looked at the facts. And the way that we can move forward is nuclear. And I believe the ideology from the Friends of the Earth and the Australian Conservation Foundation, I believed the ideology for too long. I had to put that ideology aside, look at the facts, and nuclear is now a part of the solution. That's what we need to get behind. So I represent a lot of people in North Queensland. I've ground truth Moa Creek, Glodus Creek, Mount Fox Energy Park, the Schlumberg Wind Farm Factory. These are all beautiful places. And I can tell you now that the people of North Queensland, they are prepared to fill the jails of North Queensland, standing at the front line, blockading the bulldozers. This is going to be bigger than the Franklin River. So this is going to be bigger than the Franklin River. We're going to shut the industry down, and we've had enough. Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm a bloke from Central Queensland. The team here are from Queensland, and today pace that this Queensland, or the Queensland state government, and most importantly the federal government, are pushing upon us, and we don't want it. We are here today to make them realise that we've got something, and we've got it all right. It's everybody out here today. That's who we're here for. And the thing with it is, you've got to remember, as a sixth-generation farmer, I don't care what they think of me in here. That's their business. I couldn't care less. I'm here today to fight for the next generation. It's the next generation that they're going to. It's my job. They're the ones that need looking after, because those poor little fellas, can you take it? Those little fellas, we're hard. It's called out hard. We're in here. I do. I know I'm doing the right thing. Thank you.
Yeah, well, hello everyone, and welcome to Canberra. And this is all about sending the government a message about that we do not want this renewable energy anymore. We all know it's been deliberately designed like this.
Sorry, I just had to jump in then. So that I'll just give you a heads up that this will be one show today, and then there's a few shows because there's a lot of content that I've recorded about what happened today, which is the 6th day of the second month, 2024, and down in Canberra. And bit of luck, I'll be down in Canberra one day soon. But until then, let's get back to the show, shall we? I'll find the right button again. And there's that button.
So that we have no say. The whole process of approvals is a sham.
Oh,
it has been deliberately designed like that to put you people in a position where you cannot oppose these things. Local government in Queensland is used as the shop front by the Queensland government to give approvals to these projects. They do not have the resources, they do not have the expertise, and they do not have the time and effort to put into researching exactly what happens with these renewable projects and the enormous impact that it will have, particularly on rural and regional Queensland. We know that the environmental protocols that are cast upon agriculture and the mining and resource sector do not affect the renewable energy sector. And again, it's been deliberately done like that. So you need to understand what is happening here. I've been talking about it for a long time. Keep going, send the government a message. We don't want it.
Have another committee meeting.
G'day everyone, Lou O'Brien's my name, and first I want to acknowledge the Australian taxpayer upon whose land we may start. I'm here to support my people who have come down from Queensland to fight against what is an absolutely negligent set of projects in our area that are destroying lives. The Traveston Dam was the last time my area was under threats to this extent, and believe it or not, it was a Labor government that stopped that. But now we have a Labor government that's cheering on these projects that will see us send our energy security into the dustbin. We will be buying all of the infrastructure for these ridiculous projects from China. It will not change. It will turn a first world economy into a third world economy. If you want to talk about the welfare of our children into the future, stop this. This is what will destroy the future for our children. It's great to see an active bunch of people here. I know Get Up were trying to gate crash the thing, but it looks like they've failed. And I bet you they were coming here in combustion engine cars, and long live the combustion engine car and motorbike. So I've got Katie McCallum and Jim Wilmot here from my patch to tell you what it's like living under this craziness, and it's great to see them here. And thank you everyone for turning up and showing this strength of force against these reckless renewables.
Yeah, g'day everyone. My name's Katie McCallum and I come from Kilkeevan in Queensland. I've made the trip down here to Canberra today because I need to tell you what's going on up there. I represent the Kilkeevan Action Group and my friends at the Save the Mary River Coordinating Group. Now there's a couple of blokes back here in this big building called Blackout Bowen and Airbus Elbow. And there's another couple of blokes up in Queensland called Stephen Miles and Mick DeBrenny. And those four fellas, well, they didn't even bother to ask the people, the plants or the animals where I come from, whether they've got the economic, the environmental or the social licence to roll the reckless renewables out over our homes. So I'm here with a message for DeBrenny and for Miles and Blackout and Airbus. No deal! No deal! Pack up your bulldozers and your drilling rigs and take them away, because up in Kilkeevan our gates are locked. You are not welcome on our land. So we've got two Queensland government-owned corporations that we're battling up there. They're called Powerlink, that's the guys on this poster here, and Queensland Hydro. Now they reckon they're going to put in a pumped hydro project at Barumba Dam, and it's going to cost $14.2 billion. Now the example we've seen set by Snowy 2.0 tells me that $14.2 billion isn't going to stay at that. But dollars aside, let's talk about something that no dollar value can ever replace once we lose it, and that is our environment. And up there, if this dam goes ahead, there is going to be a massive swathe of subtropical rainforest drown, and that means that every single organism in that area will die. We've got fig trees up there so big that all the people on this stage couldn't even put their arms around them. They're the home and they're the food for critically endangered species like the Coxon's fig parrot. And down in the water holes that they want to drown, we've got the critically endangered Mary River turtle, the Mary River cod, lungfish and the platypus. But apparently they don't matter.
What about the flags? Stop foreign ownership! Stop foreign corporations!
And let's talk about the transmission lines and the towers that they want to put through mine and Lou's home district of Kilkeevan. These towers are almost 100 metres tall with a 60 square metre footprint. And they want to run them all along the Black Snake Range. Now the Black Snake Range and all of the land around it is home to just about every single critically endangered Australian animal and plant that you could possibly think of. We've got koalas, quolls, phascogales, rufous bettongs, microbats, bats, gliders, sugar gliders, echidnas. I could go on. I know, I live there. And I drive through it every day and see the wildlife that's going to die if these transmission lines come through. We have got one of the biggest populations of wedge-tailed eagles I have ever seen in Queensland. This man can vouch for it because he lived in Kilkeevan too. If those transmission lines go through, those wedgies are gone. Because the Queensland government lists transmission lines as one of the biggest pillars of the protected wedge-tailed eagle every year. But they want to put these things in their home range. So at the moment, the pumped hydro project at Barumba, it's sitting waiting for approval on the desk of another person up here called Tanya Plibersek. And what worries me about her giving approval to this project is the fact that we found out that there's an almost extinct skink called the Nanggur spiny skink, who lives directly in the path of all these projects, and they failed to list it on the affected species list. So you tell me how we trust these people who are telling us what they want to do to our land when they can't even tell us the truth. And that is why I am here to say that everybody in my home district is demanding a Senate inquiry. We are demanding that all of the senators and all of the politicians who sit back here in this building that represent us, the Australian people, all agree to a federal Senate inquiry so that the truth about these projects can be laid bare so that all Australians in the city and in the country know what they plan to do to our land, our oceans, our rivers. And to be blunt, at this point, any politician who I know and my group knows that does not support a federal Senate inquiry, as far as we're concerned, they're in full agreement of the murder, the death and the destruction of native Australian animals and significant environmental landscape, and there's not that much left of it up where I am. So I just want to finish with one message here today, and that's to these guys, Powerlink, the Queensland Government Corporation. Our gates are locked. You are not welcome. Thank you for everybody being here today. It is bloody brilliant to see you all here. Let's do it again.
Hey, hello, my name's Jim Wilmot. I'm a beat producer from the South Burnett in Queensland. I'm also chair of Property Rights Australia. Now, you know, the government just loves rolling out the rhetoric, don't they? How good this rollout of renewables is going to be for us. You know, the economic boom for the region, the growth, the jobs, the community infrastructure. But we all know they keep feeding that deception to us, city and country. So we are here today to tell the truth. The communities are being socially fractured, divided up and hollowed out by our own friggin' government with the help of a few billionaire green carpetbaggers and a flotilla of their mates' renewable energy companies. So I'm here just to give you a few snippets from what's really happening in these regions. Let's talk briefly about the small, beautiful, idyllic village of Rye Park, Southern Tablelands, New South Wales, a beautiful place known for its wool and meat. You know, Big Wind came to town with their greasers. They promised prosperity. They promised economic growth. They all promised it. There's no losers here, only winners, they told them. These people, in the first 3 weeks of this project, the big trucks rolled up their tiny main street. Pictures fell from house walls and tiles came out of their friggin' bathrooms from the vibration. These residents have to put dooners on their friggin' windows and pillows under their doors just to get some bloody sleep. But you know, they wake up each morning now and instead of staring at a beautiful scenic rural vista, it's an industrial pincushion, 360. The town is totally surrounded by wind turbines. But you know, they did get a new footpath up the main street. But hey, what about the small little rural hamlet of Caban? 70 kilometres southwest of Cairns in North Queensland. Again, the company Greasers moved in with the wind farm. You know, mate, yeah, it's going to be great. Prosperity for all. These people lie in their beds at night. Wind farm's not that far away. They look at their ceilings trying to sleep and it's blood red from the lights of the wind turbines at night. And then there's the noise. And they go and ask the company greasers, what about this noise? You know, you said, oh well, look, love, we can give you some soundproofing. Oh well, we're so lucky. One of the residents asked the company greasers, well, can we have a copy of the noise data? Oh well, yeah, look, you can, love, but you've got to sign this confidentiality agreement. How fair is that? So what's really happening here, people? You know, black Blackout, Bowen and Albanese, they're trying to shift it to say, oh, no, it's cowboy renewables, you know, but it's them. They have developed the policy platform that is doing to us. And they've just finished this big renewable inquiry, you know, some people are complaining about how we consult with them. Surprise, surprise, we aren't happy, mate. So you know what their recommendations are? Let's do a point scoring system for the renewable energy companies. You know, we'll pick the best one, they get funded. You know, they're really good at bureaucracy. Let's have a few more working groups and guidelines to force feed the misinformation down our throats. We don't want that. What that's really happened in their policy platform has, they will never get social licence. But what it does, you know, I've got people here that vouch for this. What it does, it gives them the power through their bureaucracies, corporations, and their renewable energy companies. A licence to treat us with no respect, to give us no dignity. A licence to increase
Something's happening here, folks. We'll see. Give it a minute. I'll knock the phone over by looks things.
So what's really happening here, people? You know, Blackout, Bowen and Albanese, they're trying to shift it. To say, oh, no, it's a few cowboy renewables. You know, but it's them. They have developed the policy platform that is doing to us. And they've just finished this big renewable inquiry, you know, okay? Because what we want, and what we want now, is a Senate inquiry to bring some truth, reason, and reality to what is really happening. Thank you all for coming.
Wow.
Needs to be higher.
Look at Australia speaking. Thank you for being awake and for making a stand for our country and the environment. We are engaged together in the front line of an information war. Make no mistake, that's the big picture. We are fighting that war. Thank you for coming here from all over the country. Thank you to the organisers, from Grant, Jim, Katie, and many more. I am wonderfully pro-human. That's why I oppose these bastards in solar and wind. I've been calling out parasitic solar and wind companies since 2007. One nation opposes wind turbines. One nation opposes large-scale solar. One nation opposes needless excess transmission.
To be swapped out of the way in the checkmate of what is their 230.
Connecting massive scattered wind and solar sites. Solar and wind at peak electricity times in the evening and the morning generate 10% of their nameplate capacity, which means we need 10 times the transmission lines that a coal-fired power station needs. That's where the fraud is. That's where the problem is. And we need to dump solar and wind because recycling consumes too much energy. They just dump them in the bush. They don't give a shit what happens. Pump hydro projects stealing water from people. So-called renewables are killing our country, killing our future. Pauline and I have been saying this since the start, consistently and continuously. This is who we're up against. We're up against parasitic globalists transferring money and land from us, the people, electricity users, communities, to billionaires living off parasitically off subsidies from us all. That's how they live, these billionaires. Like Simon Holmes at Court, Twiggy Forrest, Mike Cannon-Brooks, Ross Garno, Alex Turnbull. To stop this parasitic wealth transfer to be effective for farmers and for all Australians in stopping solar and wind, we need to be united, consistent and blunt. That's what I'm going to speak to you about. I
Queenslanders. While the majority of MPs in that building behind us are ignorant, stupid and gutless on climate and energy, I proudly stand beside the three who are not. Jared Rennick, Lou O'Brien and Paul Boyle. In 2021, I asked many MPs in the Senate to send me scientific evidence they received showing that human production of carbon dioxide needs to be cut. 9 replied in writing, saying they'd never received any information, any evidence. George Christensen, Craig Kelly, Eric Abetz, Kevin Andrews, Concetta Fioravanti-Wells, Jared Rennick, Lou O'Brien, Bob Catter and Pauline Hanson. We need more MPs to join that list of truthful, courageous representatives. Colin Boyce has said vigorously that he opposes climate fraud. Good on you, Colin. Welcome to the club. As elected officials, we must be clear, strong and consistent. The climate fraud on which solar and wind are based is bullshit. There's no policy basis. Solar and wind as a result of theft from us all. So now, Barnaby, where are you? I saw you a minute ago. I heard that Barnaby's helping to organise this rally. Welcome back, Barnaby. In the early 2000s, as a senator, Barnaby Joyce was easily the most effective member of Parliament speaking against climate fraud. Colourful, energetic, truthful, practical. Yet, in the 2016 election, Barnaby, you faced a challenge in your New England electorate against Tony Windsor, and Prime Minister Turnbull promised $400 million on renewables as an election sweetener to buy you farmers' votes. That was a real kick in the guts to me and to everyone who's opposing this bullshit. When a staunch and respected speaker like Barnaby against climate fraud blows $400 million supporting solar and wind. Barnaby, it undermined and betrayed us all. But that's the past. Welcome back, Barnaby. I want you to consider every major climate and energy initiative. We have to understand the basis. The first federal MP to raise climate change was in the 80s, Mr. Baum, a Liberal. The UN Kyoto Climate Protocol compliance was engineered by John Howard, a Liberal. Stealing of farmers' property rights to use their own property so that Australia complied with UN Kyoto Protocol, John Howard, a Liberal. The renewable energy target, John Howard, a Liberal. Solar and wind, John Howard. The national electricity market, John Howard, a Liberal. The emissions trading scheme, the carbon dioxide tax. The first party to have a policy was led by John Howard, a Liberal. Despite all of that, as Australia's #1 government pushing large-scale solar and wind and the main destroyer of farmers' property rights, 6 years after leaving Parliament, John Howard said in London that on the topic of climate science he was agnostic. There is no science backing up what his destructive government did. He signed the signature of the UN Paris Agreement. Vinny Abbott, a Liberal. The Safeguard Mechanism, a global carbon dioxide tax basis. Greg Hunt and Malcolm Turnbull, Liberals, 2015. Ratification of the US Paris Agreement, Malcolm Turnbull, a Liberal. UN 2050 Net Zero, Scott Morrison, a Liberal. The Liberal Nationals introduced every major climate and energy fraud. Yet we know there is
Well, I don't know if anyone can hear me or anything, because this is frozen up again or something. I pressed a button somewhere. Possible. No, seems to be frozen, folks. It sounds a bit, but there must have been something happening during the recording. So therefore, let's get that out of the way, shall we? Sorry, folks, but there's lots more interesting content that I recorded today, and hopefully won't stuff it up as much as the last one. So there'll be more tomorrow, because what they were talking about, the renewable thing that they're trying to force on us, it's a bunch of baloney. Hey, be good to each other, because you're all you got.